Alright, welcome to my first attempt at a live stream. Hopefully we've got sound on there, I have no idea. Actually, we can try testing it this way. Let's go back. So, new to live streaming, new to testing this. So I'm going to unmute that and see if it'll talk back to me. I might get a bit of feedback here. Yep, so apologies for that tab, but we've got sound, we are working. And welcome to the first attempt, or the second attempt at the weekly challenges. So we're going over to the Alteryx community website, just at academy.alteryx.com, and we're going to run through some weekly challenges. If we look at the index, at the pop there, at the top, there we go. Let's go to the first page. We can start seeing we've got 209 different weekly challenges available, completed by the top leaders over the last 30 days. Wow, good effort by this person. 131 in the last 30 days. Great job. But yeah, we're going to start running through them. We've got a big list of all of them. There's 209 in the list. We're actually a couple ahead of that, so this page hasn't been updated. But let's go back to the home page of the Academy. And I actually did challenge 211 and 210 yesterday, right, on my first attempt at a live stream. But we are looking today at starting with challenge 209. So I'm going to download the starter file, open where it is. And what I like to do is I have a folder and I chuck it into a new folder, 209. And I like organizing it into the folders on their own. I also like to keep, where'd it go, downloads, the original file if I ever want to go back to it. Alright, so I'm just going to duplicate that, rename it to solution. Here we go. Let's start that one up. And here's what we got. We are looking at input data, claims expense record for the health group, obviously underwriting in the last 3 years, converted from PDF file, each page is a single cell, extract the amounts from the accident month, block of text under the period, summarize with regards to the inception date of the policy. Okay, so we've got 6 policies, and within each cell we have the information, got inception, when it started from, so that's the start date that we're talking about, and that's what we're wanting to summarize up to. And we want to extract the column where the 8 grand is from what I can see. Right. Inception. Ooh, that's. Oh no. Next to each of the block of text. Okay. We actually want all of those values, and they need to align to the column. So basically, we want to put in our inception date for each individual record. And then, once we hit the period, we want to take each of those individual months and details into their own columns. If we put on our cell viewer, they're all just separated by spaces. So that could potentially be a way we can use what we can use. And just to make it easier for me to track the records, I'm going to start with looking at a record ID. Probably not going to need it, but I find it helpful. I do like putting it at the start sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. Right, so that means that if I do some processing on the inception field, on the first record, I can group it if I've got a multi-row formula, which I'll probably end up needing. A multi-row formula can create it into its own records. Let's use a split to rows. I'm going to split on field 1. I'm going to use the \n delimiter, which is going to find me new lines. I'm going to put it out into rows. So now we have for record 1, every individual record. Okay. The next bit we want to look at is I want to take this inception and I want to pass it down to every single record for each individual one. Okay. So we're going to start, let's go for a multi-row formula. Bring that one in. I'm going to call it inception. It's going to be a string. Right. It's just going to be looking at, basically I want to say if the line has inception at the start, or if it starts with inception, let's actually bring up our functions. It's a string function, and start with, oops. There's a few different features coming in later versions or in the HTML versions of the formula tools with the autocomplete. It makes things so much nicer to work with, but it just hasn't yet made it into a multi-row formula. We're going to look with our field 1. So if it starts with the word inception, we don't need all of that space at the end. Then I want to take that field. All right, so I want to take field 1. If it doesn't, I'm going to take the previous row that I've just created and I'm just going to fill that down. So nice and quickly, truncated, that's too big, let's just make sure, yeah, it's only 4 characters long, so let's make it 100, that's probably excessive, but it'll be fine. It is still truncating, but I only need this first bit anyway. So I need the inception and that first date. I just want to actually sort that inception field out first. So what am I going to do? I am going to, now when I scroll down I see it's moving in here, so there's a different number of spaces. So I'm going to actually use a little bit of regex. Okay, so I'm going to take a formula and I am going, actually, better idea, rather than a formula, let's bring in the actual regex tool, and I'm going to pass out that date. Okay, so I'm going to look for inception white space. Then the bit that I'm going to take out is going to be \d. I want 2 of them, followed by a hyphen, followed by \d. I want another 2 of them, followed by a hyphen, and then \d. And \d is the regex for a date. Sorry, for a digit. Right, so we want to take that, and then anything can come after that. And the dot star is any text, so that's going to make it. To make sure our field name is right, it is still called inception. Right, so I'm going to change that to inception fill, because this is going to be a deleted field later. And I'm going to call this one, what are we looking at, inception fill. If I can type, that would be brilliant. There we go. Now it's going to work. Alright, so we want to pass out of the inception fill, and I'm going to call it inception. Alright, so when we run that, we should be just getting that date. Okay, we could actually turn that into a date as well. See if it'll play nice, and nope, it's not going to let me. I'll have to actually convert that into a date after the fact. So we've got our inception field. The next bit we care about is we want to find all the records that start with a date, right? And this one here. So how are we going to find that? What we're going to do? Basically, I'm going to look for the period, and then as soon as it hits period, I'm going to fill that down. But what I'm going to do is let's do that. So we are going to take a multi-row formula. Just walk us through. So what we're going to do is we want to give an indicator for when we find period. So if our current row field 1 contains period, then I'm just going to give it a flag of 1. Else I want to fill down what's above it. Okay, so this is going to be new field, period indicator. It wants to be a boolean just because I like to make that small. Else it will be previous row indicator. But the key bit that I want to do is I want to group it by record ID. If I don't group it by record ID, when I come down to period 2, all these top ones are still going to be treated as a period value. Okay. So we now have a few nulls for when it's coming through. And as soon as we hit period, they're going to start be kept. So that's a really quick and easy way of getting those values to be indicated. So I can get rid of all of these nulls. Then we can carry on and remove the period in last year. Right? And it should be period and last year is the same for all of them. Okay. Let's have a look. Filter. I want to filter by period indicator is not null. Right, so if we look at this column, we'll see period, policy last year, period, policy last year, period, policy last year, so on and so forth. So we can then add a second filter, and this time I'm going to make a custom filter, and all I'm going to say is look for whether it contains period or if it contains policy. And we want contains field 1 period or policy. Okay, I'm just going to run. I will actually invert this in a second because I do like to keep the positive output of a field. That's done nicely. So to invert it, I'm going to select the entire lot in brackets and I'll put an exclamation at the start. So what it's saying is evaluate that and then invert it. Alright, so we just have our true records. So I'm going to do a quick little tidy up. I'm going to get rid of our inception fill field and our period indicator. I'm going to move that inception to the beginning, right, just after our record ID. Inception fill indicator, there we go. So we're now back to just having our record ID, the inception date, and the fields we care about. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a text columns. Problem being, if it starts with 1 with a number, so spaces and then a single digit and then spaces, that's going to cause problems on those rows. So I want to strip out first, I want to replace that beginning. Okay, so it has to be a single digit. I'm going to use a little bit of regex, And what you'll find is regex is really helpful for things like passing fields that are inconsistent or different. And what I want to pass is I don't actually want to do a single digit because that's going to get all of them. So I'm going to take a space, digit, space. Right, so I'm going to find that. I'm going to replace that with just nothing. Right, so that should replace those cells with nothing at all. There we go. Line 1, line 2, excellent. So it gets rid of that initial value. I could have replaced it with 3 spaces to keep it where it was, but to be honest, it doesn't matter because the next step, I'm going to take a text columns. I'm going to split my field based on some white space, but I'm going to skip any empty columns. And I think it was 6 columns. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. So now we'll start seeing it'll go down. That first column is our dates. Then our first field, second field, third, fourth, so on and so forth. All right. We have got something missing in here every so often. So I've got a little bit of an issue here. There's a few fields where that record hasn't been input. So if we look at, let's go for item number 2. All right. And value number 2. No, it's there. That's why. So my initial logic of replacing a single space isn't quite going to work because that 3 also matches in that second value. So how would I go through and match that? Right. I will need to extract out this top line, this line in here in a sec. But I'm just trying to think at the moment, how can I treat the number of claims for each policy period? Okay. Because when it extracts out, these ones here, they're all going to cause an issue. When the number of policies is less than double digits, just means that this logic won't play nice. So in effect, let's have a look. When I have that start as 1, that's how I could do it. I can make sure this expression is at the beginning of the line. Right? And I can use the beginning of the line option, so that little caret at the start. So that means that it's only going to look at that 1 when it's at the start, obviously. If I say it often enough, it might come true. So we can look and see on our output, it should, dots, we want more than 1 space at the beginning. There we go. So what was happening before is when I had a single space, it was saying I couldn't find 1 space, 1 digit, 1 space at the beginning of the line, so it failed. But what it is doing now is when we look at our text columns, here we go. This one here, that number 1 isn't now treated as a value, and that's coming through. But we've got an extra column. So I should have had 8 columns. Let's see. And just because it isn't being dropped into anything else, all those extra leading spaces aren't being taken care of. But I'm going to take care of them in a second when I start doing my tidy up and conversions. So that looks like we're good. All right, so if we come back now to our output here, to our null indicator. All right, so from our false option, we will have within each value a heading. Right. So we want to find our heading line, which I don't think. Yeah, our heading line is actually on 2 lines. Oh no, yeah, it's on 2 lines. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, line 5 and 6, just above the period, is the heading. So we need to concatenate any of them that go over a second line. We need to select one value, because that's going to be the same all the way through, and concatenate where number of lives goes into 2 times, number paid before VAT, drop that into a single line, like these ones. Okay. So we can come back to that value. We want to look for, if we just go for any line that contains the word claims, it should bring it out. So we want to go for field 1 contains claims, hit run, inception, has too many Hessian claims. So that does work, it just brings in that inception column as well, which I don't want. To be honest, I only need those 2 values there anyway, so I could just go and take record 2 and 3. So I'm going to select records 2, 3. See if that works, or if I've got my, nope, that's not quite right. The comma doesn't work, I need to put a hyphen. 2, 2, 3. Okay. So now we have it. We've got number of lives below there as well. Now, I am going to use a tokenize with my regex. And the reason I want to use a tokenize is because it's not actually going to be a pure delimiter. It's going to be 2 characters to define that delimiter. So I'm looking at field 1, I'm looking at 2 spaces, and I'm going to tokenize, and I am going to, I'm just going to split to rows. Let's see how that works. Don't think that's quite going to work for us, right? No. Nope, that has not worked for us. Oh, that's because it's looked for that tokenize. I mean, I could just manually set those title names because they're going to be consistent for it. I'm just wanting to make this automated in some way. What we got? It's just, worry about that another time. So we can see if we got anything there. So this is where working this out is going to be the fun bit. I'm trying to do it so it's an automatic process. It would be rather easy. To be honest, looking at these names anyway, they're not a consistent name. They're not the same as the originals. I can tell that because the amount paid before VAT, if it was the same as the original, would be number of paid before VAT in brackets. So it's not really the same anyway, but I do want to have it going that way. Let's do it this way. So we are looking for accident month, the next one was number of lives, number of paid claims, amount paid before VAT, amount paid after VAT, number of OS claims, amount of OS claims before VAT, amount of OS claims after VAT, and the last column, no, that was the last column. I'm one column too far ahead. That's annoying. Field 1 should have been down one. Alright. There's probably an easier way to do this, and if anyone knows it, I'd love to see that in comments some point. Would really improve that with a workflow and make it a bit easier. My guess would be to actually pass that out properly and then use the dynamic rename. But I'm just being lazy. Alright, so we've got our corrected fields. So we can also drop field 1. We can drop record 1. So those aren't needed anymore. I'm going to cleanse out the leading spaces from the amount column. Right. I'm going to use the data cleansing tool, and I'm going to remove leading and trailing white space. I'm not going to replace anything. Here we go. Alright, just need to cough. Save your ears from that cough, that's cool. Alright. So we've now cleaned out the ones. The last step is I'm just going to use an auto field to convert that all into the right results. Alright. So we've now got the double bytes, made things smaller. The amount paid, so number of lives, number of claims, they should be numbers. So let's have a look. So these are not coming through as numbers because of that comma. Right, so we need to strip out that comma before they go through. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to leave the accident month and inception out of my text columns. Out of my data cleansing. No. I was going to say I'll use the punctuation. If I replace the punctuation, I'll also get rid of the dot. And that's going to be wrong as well. So I'm just going to go for a formula tool. And we'll just do it for that single record. Better than a formula, we'll go for a multi-field formula. delete and connect around. So I'm going to take those text fields, select all of them, except for those first two. I don't want to create a new column. I want to replace the current field, and I want to replace a comma with nothing. Okay, and that's going to strip out those comma separators, the 1,000 separators that are coming through in here. So you originally got the number of lives, 8,000, now it's gone. It hasn't affected our amounts. So when we do our renumbering, lives is an integer, integer double, double, byte, double, double. Excellent. Now just to confirm we've lined this all up correctly, I'm just going to join these two results together. So my value, join it back against the original value. I'm going to join on all of the columns. Firstly, that'll tell me, have I named all the columns? And it'll also tell me if they all line up, whoops, after, here we go, then I've got the correct numbers. OS claims, OS claims, OS claims. There we go. Strings to other strings. Let's just check what we got. Inception is a string, accident month is date. Whereas here we have got accident month is a string. So I need to convert the accident month into a string. Okay. So I'm going to go for a multi-field, and I like using the multi-field because, let's just make sure. Yep. I like using the multi-field because it means I can replace the column and update the type without actually creating a new column. Okay. So we're looking for the text, we're looking for accident month. I'm changing the output type to a date. I'm going to use a date time pass. Actually, I'm going to bring that one in just because I don't have autocomplete. Yeah, it is just date and then format, which is what, to be honest, what I was expecting it should be. So we've got current field, and the format that we're looking for is month / year. Right, so we're going to go percent lowercase m / percent uppercase y. Right? And those are the specifiers to identify month and year. So now our accident month is a date, and we have got a successful output. Right? So we do not have a successful output, so nothing has joined there. All right. So that's telling me nothing has lined up correctly. So if we just look at is there an aggregation step that I've missed? I think there is. So if we look here, 2019, no, we've got 66 records there, and over here we have 33 records. Inception, well, let's just try and see if that's what we've got wrong here. I'm going to group by inception, I'm going to group by accident month. I'm going to sum all of those values. Yeah. So I've got a couple of duplicate values appearing, which is what's causing the issue. So let's go and remove with a dynamic rename the prefix of sum. It's got all of them except those starting to, and it's going to be sum underscore, sum underscore, and there we go. 22 perfectly matching records, 11 don't. (1061), interesting, okay. So if we look at this, the zeros. So what's probably happening is these zeros that are coming through are having floating point errors appearing in them rather than rounding cleanly. So while it looks on screen to be 0, a few of those values might be actually coming through as multiple columns worth of nulls, for example. Alright, so easiest way to check that, to be honest, they're all actually 0, so I'm not sure what the value of that going through is going to be. So what I will do is I'm just going to convert them. What are they over here? They are bytes here, and I have got them as an int and 2 doubles. So I'm just going to convert them into bytes as well. What did my autofill do? Yeah, byte and a double. So it's probably our 2 doubles that are causing the issue, because when they did come in, they were 0.00. So I'm going to convert them both into bytes. There might be a more robust or a better robust way of doing it if you wanted to. But we now have still 22, so it's not that which is causing it. But looking at those values, just eyeballing them on the screen here. So if we look at the first record in the bottom and the first record on the top, they are coming through the same. So there's something, I don't think they're actually wrong. I think it's just not appearing correctly. So there's going to be possibly a rounding error in these values coming through at some point. So while it's displaying as 0.9, so 5 amount after VAT. So while they're both displaying as 0.9, one might be showing up as 0.90001, whereas the other one is 0.899999 something. Right, so that could be where my issue is coming through. So I'm going to say that's right, because I think it is. I think that's come through correctly. There's a fair few extra steps in here that we've got, which we could possibly tidy up if we wanted to. But I think for a nice quick result, that is alright. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit further, take a screenshot, and the screenshot here is for posting it as a completed challenge. So completed workflow 09, I'm going to pop up to 209. Save, there we go. So then let's go back to put in our reply. Backfilling results. Pop in my spoiler tag. Whoops. Let's go to challenge 209, drop in our workflow, and then our completed solution. I don't actually want to listen to replies because I get a lot. And that is another one in the books. One thing I am actually doing is on my GitHub page, I am recording the workflows that I complete as I go through. Hit save. So we've got our weekly challenge. Challenge 209. Whoops. That should be muted. There we go. Commit. Alright. So I do have a nice bit of records for it coming through, but whether anyone looks at it and whether it actually goes back to it in future is a whole different question. Okay, let's go back to 209. Let's download that. Just reading this one. Alright. Show in folder. Let's bring up whoops, can't type again. 208. There we go. Drop you here. Move. Duplicate. Solution. There we go. Let's open that up in Alteryx and have a look. So, interesting viz. We have sourced an RNA sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 responsible for COVID-19. So that's fairly topical, and me actually doing this live stream is a trigger because of this. So, since RNA is made up of base pairs G, T, and A, your visualization should have 4 colors. When creating the grid, try to order them sequencing from left to right. For example, first base pairs ATTA, make sure that A is in column 1, row 1, column 1, T is in row 2, column 2, and so on. How many colors make up a row? What colors you select are entirely up to you. If you want, okay. Right. So we've created a background image. Whoops, that's not what I want. Okay. Alright, so we have that first number. What are we seeing here? Alright, so there's a couple of data sources there. I'm not sure why this is. Oh, what space is going to be a blank in that view? So what we can do is, first up, I'm going to pass out those digits, followed by the space. So back into the regex again. I do end up seeming to use a lot of regex. Actually, better than regex. I'm going to just go, whoopsie. I'm going to go for a text to columns, because what I'm doing is I'm just going to create 2 columns, right? Using that space, and everything that's not the number at the start, it's going to be treated as a single unit anyway. Alright. Then I want to go for some regex, and I want to take number 2. I just want to find anything, and I am going to tokenize that into, I'm going to split to rows and then cross tab it back. Okay, so that's going to make each individual record, each individual base pair, its own column. I'm going to have on my output that identifier to join it back with, so that's cool. So now I can go and cross tab, there we go. I can cross tab it. I can use the grouping is going to be 1. But before I can do that, I actually need to make a running number. So basically I need to put in a value for each of the pairs, so we've got column titles. Let's go back, multi-row, so group by the base pair, and column, it's just going to be the column plus 1. Right. For rows that don't exist, I want to make it 0. Right. So basically on that first row, at the top there, previous row is going to be 0 plus 1, and she'll count properly. Alright, there we go. So column is going to be our column headers. So our column headers will be column. The values that will fall into it will be 2. So that's 2. And we have to select an option, so I'm going to concatenate just to make sure that we don't get any values coming through. And I'm going to group by number 1. So we should have now a grid coming through. Why have we got 1_2 there? Because column 1 is the value, and then column 2. So I might just go back a step before here. Just call 1 ID. Yeah, actually, I'll call that ID. Basically, so I don't need that extra column in there. Sorry, the extra tool. Yes, field 2 is not contained because I've changed it to ID 2. There we go. And again, propagating down ID 1. Yep, that's cool. Oh, I really should check all of these. It's the one frustration with changing values in Alteryx, changing column names. It doesn't propagate through. It is something that's been worked on, so it is coming. Hopefully that comes in sooner rather than later. Okay then, so what I'm seeing is these values with leading space, with nothing in them, it seems to be a consistent point along that row. So we've got 1, so it's almost like you've got the 5 values and 2 pairs of 5s coming together to make a single pair, and then a space in that RNA sequence. That continues on for all of those values. So I'm going to actually drop that column. Do I want to drop? I'm going to leave that column there for now. So what I want to create now is I'm going to create, let's go for an interactive chart. Let's go and configure, actually have to run the workflow first. There we go. Let's run that workflow. Let's actually have a look over here for a second. Current viewers is me. Alright. Let's configure that. We want to add a layer. Is this going to be a nice way to do it? Probably not. I want a heat map. Actually, come to think of it, I'm just going to, I might not actually need that transpose in there at all. I tend not to use the reporting tools a lot, so this is actually really good for me to, oops, I still need to run that, to learn and remember. Let's try that again. Alright, so we want to create a heat map. Our X, which will be across the view, is going to be column. Our Y is going to be ID1, and the value is going to be ID2. Okay, let's see what that does. Not quite, that's not really what I want to see. Yeah. See, this is one unfortunate thing is I can't really see what values are appearing in there. Where did my layers go? Wait, what? Okay, this is interesting. What values are coming in? So, column I want to go across. ID2 is the value I want to appear, but I think it needs ID2 to be a number rather than a value. ID1 is going to be the rows. So my Y is going to be ID1. My column is going to be my X. So column is X. Yep. So I have got that right around. I think it's just because that ID2, yeah, because ID2 is letters, it's not playing properly. So we need to convert those values into something. So I'm going to make it, we got GTAC. I'm going to, in that order, so GCAT, I'm going to do a switch. All right. So the value is ID2. Default is going to be null. So case 1 is G. That's going to be 1. Oops, that's not one. There we go. Case 2 will be C. That's 2. Case 3 will be A. Will be 3, comma 3 there. And case 4 will be T. And this is going to be a new column. I'm going to call it heat. I want it to be a byte. Here we go. Yep, because when they're nulls, they should be nulls. That's good. That's what I wanted. Right, so that is going to be, there we go. Okay, so they are all going on that same row. I would have thought. Yeah, so I would think. Oh. So, if we come back to here, I'm actually going to make these. Each row is a record ID. Record ID, there we go. because the numbers are jumping around, so it's moving it around too much, I think. So I think I need to run that to get them to populate through. Yeah, so instead of ID1, I'm going to use record ID. There we go. That should, but they're still not going any columns across. Axes, display range, 0. The Y, actually let's just go that, 0. So Y, it's not because it's sampling or something silly, is it? Shouldn't be. Just see that. Oh, there we go. Alright. So if we run that again, yeah, it is just sampling those values, so when we're seeing them in our samples, there we go. So we can see that band appearing there, which is cool. Right, let's go and configure our chart. We can change our legend, where is it, layers. So we could change our color scale, and rather than doing a single value or a sequential, we could do it categorical. Let's go for the D3. Ooh, that's not what I'm expecting. I mean, it's just that legend that's going weird colors, I think. Let's go for that one. Yep. Minimum, maximum, horizontal gaps. Interpolate gaps. Gaps, no. Trace name. What does the trace name come up? Oh, it's just layer. Alright, so can we bring in this? Yeah, it's a URL link. So what I'd really like to see, I mean, it might just be that I'm not finding it and I don't know how to do it, but on, no, there's notes on the view. I'd really love to be able to bring in another field for that tooltip. It's possible that it's just, yeah, hover text, enable, yeah, it's just, you can type stuff in. So this is words. Right, that's going to go, oh, that's in the title. Yeah, it's just pulling in the fields that you've put there, but your information might not be in the other fields, so it doesn't really give you that flexibility all the time that you need. Or at least, not to my mind anyway. That should do it. Close that, run it. There we go. We can see, boom. I don't know if that's pretty cool or not. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my legend. I'm going to get rid of the axes. Because they don't actually provide a whole lot of information. So legend, I'm going to hide that. Right, so that's going to get rid of that legend there. Axes. Let's go and hide the grid lines. I'm going to hide the labels. There we go. And I am going to hide we haven't got any titles on them. I'm not sure why it says that they're titles when there are no titles. Color scale, chart, there we go, chart. Hover text, font. Yeah, to be honest, I would like to see more. Well, it may just be that I haven't done a lot of these weekly challenges yet, but more challenges with the reporting tools could be rather useful. All right. Yeah, because I don't really want that title there or that access to be appearing. And I thought I removed that legend. I mean, it's because color bar, not the legend. Okay. So that's the color bar gone. Axes, display range is coming up. The lines are hiding that. Labels are hiding spacing. Spacing is all appearing. Because the reality is I want to actually get rid of that name. You'd think there'd be an easier way to turn off. Oopsie. Double click to zoom. Whoops, no, reset exit. Reset. Oh, that is the original, that's why. Yeah. It's a interesting, it's a massive improvement on what they used to have, but it's still missing. Still missing some features, still missing some capability. All right, there we go. And that'll work. That's what we've got. So I am going to render this into a PNG. Render. Right, so render into a picture. I want a specific file. And save it into here, which will be PNG. RNA map. Let's go for, let's go B3, that'll do. No margins. Transparent paper, there we go. Let's make it nice, high resolution. All right. I'm actually going to change this, so rather than saying to a specific location, I'm just going to do it locally. So that's going to become a relative path, so wherever this workflow runs from is where it'll save it to. So if anyone else, or if I moved it or moved those workflows, that'll still work for me. So we now have, let's just open it in Paint for now. There we go. All right. Let's print that one. Save it into 208. That one, 208. There we go. And to finish off the exercise, I mean, it's not the prettiest thing and probably should take a bit more effort into those colorings, but there we go. Oh, let's drop the map in there. Let's drop the workflow picture in there, and let's drop in the workflow itself. Might actually say that. Again, don't want to reply. There we go. All right. Thank you for anyone that decides to watch this in the future. Hopefully this has worked properly, and we are over and out.